Is it possible that Joe Biden will ever say, you guys can go ahead with construction of Keystone XL?
There's no plans for that, and it would not address any of the problems we're having currently.
What do you make of that? Do you think that Alberta oil is the solution for the United States?
Oh yeah, for sure. It should be.
Most definitely. Yes, I do.
It's really kind of inexplicable why, and it always has been, why the United States would turn to alternative sources and not be willing and wanting to rely more on Canada and on Alberta.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News, and in the aftermath of Putin's invasion of the Ukraine, numerous countries around the world have banned imports on Russian energy resources. The United States is among these countries, leaving them with a 700,000 barrel a day shortage when it comes to oil. Fortunately, there is a ready-made solution. The approval for the Keystone XL pipeline, which was rescinded by Biden, revoked 830,000 barrels or more a day of Canadian oil heading down to the United States. All that Biden has to do is turn to his a longtime ally of the United States, Canada, and they can receive those resources. They can just finish that one short stretch of pipeline. Unfortunately, that is not what they are doing. Biden is turning to Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Iran instead to try and get oil from them in a move that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So we're taking to the streets of oil country right here in downtown Calgary to ask people if they think that Alberta oil is the solution for the United States. Do you think that it makes far more sense to turn to Alberta oil in this time?
Okay. I mean, it'd be nice if Canada would use Canadian oil, period. I mean, if you're talking ethically and morally, I mean, you're bringing in a whole different conversation piece, right? I think that the poor use of Alberta oil overall needs to be looked at, but then again, it's all money, right? So if you can't refine the oil here, then you can't use it here. You have to send it off to be refined. So really, if we're shipping, my understanding is the shipping routes go really far south anyway. Like you have to go through the Panama Canal and back up. So does it really make any difference environmentally then to go from Venezuela up versus west to east using boats? Because we still don't have a pipeline either, right? But I think that's a whole nother conversation piece.
First of all, I'm a Montrealer. I'm visiting Calgary, but I have been a strong supporter of Alberta throughout my life for various reasons. And to me, it's really kind of inexplicable why, and it always has been, why the United States would turn to alternative sources and not be willing and wanting to rely more on Canada and on Alberta.
Do you think Alberta oil is the solution for these countries?
Most definitely. Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, for sure. It should be. But there's just too much politics involved, and, I don't know what the problem is, but, both Biden and Trudeau need to be exchanged for different leaders before that'll ever happen. I'm sure of it.
Do you think that that is the solution?
No, I don't.
What do you think the solution is?
Reduction of our utility usage. It's going to be hard. I think the corporation isn't so interested in it because of future environmental concerns brought forward against it.
Yeah.
They're going to have a hard row with making that a successful endeavor.
I think there's a number of solutions that we can look at. I think it's oversimplifying going just from one source, because you always have to think about politics being a number of solutions for a number of problems, not simply just the oil here is going to be for the oil here. You know what I mean? Like there's diplomatic relations that have to be built for a number of other reasons. So diplomacy in politics is never one for one. Yeah. It's always who can get the upper hand on a number of things, not just one particular area.
Right. And can you think of any possible motivation or reason as to why they'd go to these foreign sources?
Well, I mean, obviously the obvious reason why the U.S. was against Keystone was environmental. And as we all know, there's been a huge environmental lobby against pipelines, against Keystone. Whether or not there's political motivations to turn more to Saudi just because the U.S. wants to maintain strong ties to the Gulf, hard to say. But it seems to me, again, without being an expert on the topic, that a lot of the opposition, to Alberta and to Keystone was environmental, and it's not logical.
For sure, and I know lots of people, the concern is environmentalism. Unfortunately, what the United States is doing, they're going to Saudi Arabia, Iran, Venezuela, and tanking oil in.
Which I hate as much. I don't think that is a good solution. I mean, so we do have to change we just have to reduce a bit.
Yeah. And I think moving forward, moving towards environmental green technologies, whatever that may be, for the time being, though, there seems to be a need. Do you think at the very least Alberta oil piped instead of tankered is a better alternative than Saudi oil being tankered in?
I agree that Alberta oil being used in whatever way is the better than Saudi oil or Venezuelan oil.
Yeah.
I certainly believe that. I just don't think the long-term viability of that pipeline will pay off to the shareholders in the end. That's the challenge.
You think Alberta oil is a more ethical solution than that?
Oh, yes, easily. But with what we have, we only have a limited amount. So we can only go so far with what we can give. And we do send a fair bit down there. But, I mean, we could reduce what we need from those countries, easily.
It's kind of vexing for me, to think that to bring in unethical foreign oil that needs to be tankered in is favored by environmentalists over much safer, more ethical oil being piped in from a closer location.
I agree. It's hard to understand.
Well, there's a lot of politics involved with that too. There's a huge relationship with the United States and Saudi Arabia. I mean, between weapons to Saudi Arabia in exchange for oil, and to keep Venezuela, in our sphere of influence, or in the American sphere of influence, is probably in their long-term best interest as well. Because eventually there'll be regime change, probably in both those countries, whether it's backed by the Americans or not.
Well, the folks here in downtown Calgary certainly agree. Shutting down Keystone XL, especially when this oil is needed, makes absolutely no sense. It's time for Joe Biden to revoke the fact that he rescinded the Keystone XL and open it up. This is the most ethical and clean oil, and it provides a solution for the United States that no one else readily can. It's time to build Keystone XL. It's time to open up the taps, and it's time to meet America's energy needs. Alberta oil is the solution. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Soos. If you think that Keystone XL and Alberta oil are the solution for the United States' oil needs, you can sign our petition at buildkeystoneXL.com.